definitely be completely in tune with your sexuality and self-love and not really be needing anything from anybody else.
And I would add, there's actually two things, but I would add practicing emotional availability. I actually wrote about this week on my Facebook page that for a long time, I used to get really pissed off with this kind of thinking that you attract emotionally unavailable men because you're emotionally unavailable to yourself.
So, hello everybody, and welcome to today's event that lies so close to my heart. And I would love to share it with all of you together with my four fellow coaches, amazing, vibrant women. And we are going to be talking today about why women chase emotionally unavailable men, or generally avoidant men. And this topic is incredibly important because if we want to admit it or not, once or twice in our lives, we all went there. And when it comes to myself, I've been there for more than 10 years, dating, chasing, being in a relationship with avoidant men. They didn't make me happy. It was very bad habit I've been through. And so I decided to have this conversation with four experts to bring a little bit more light and clarity into why is this happening to women, where does it come from, and maybe what are the solutions for all of us. So I would like to start with my own story and how I basically transitioned from attracting emotionally unavailable men to actually being now in a stable relationship. So I have had, I would say, men that were addicts, um, guys that were incredibly unstable. They would crave their exes, they would not turn up for dates, and they would definitely tell in my face that they don't want a relationship, and I would still stick around. I would even have a relationship with a married man. And it's even by now like so hard for me to say that because there's so much shame inside of me. However, these are the stories that I want to share with you because I know that there are so many other women out there who are struggling with it. And I just want to let them know that there is a way out of it. And um, definitely, it helped me to do all of my coaching sessions and to do my SLRC coaching training. And the psychology behind this kind of behavior is really interesting. For me personally, it was basically working on my daddy issue. So starting with my father first and starting to introduce actually such a deep, radical self-love in my life so that when it comes to choosing a man in my life, it should be not so much about how attractive he is, how amazing and what he's doing, but rather how do I feel? Do I feel stable? Do I feel like my hands are shaking, my legs are shaking, or is it more just a very easygoing conversation that I'm having with him? So these are just like small pointers about what has been happening in my life when I was transitioning from this kind of different phases. And now I would love one of our beautiful women give the words. I don't know whoever would like to start talking first. Just
I
feel
can go. I can go first.
yes, Emma, please.
Yeah, so just to pick up from where you like the radical self-love, that's absolutely been my journey. And when I was reflecting before this call, kind of what has really helped me because and also the pattern. So for me, I was actually really aware that I was doing it and I still did it. And that's what added to the pain. of the kind of the repeating of the pattern. So I knew this Emma, she's got her wounds, myself, I've got my wounds, I've got my trauma background. I know why I'm doing this. I know it's because it's reaffirming a core belief of mine that I'm not worthy of being loved. I'm not worthy of having my authentic needs met, and to reconfirm that belief that my needs don't matter, that I'm not being listened to, that I don't matter, that I'm not valued. So even though I knew all of that, I still kept doing it. And for me, what broke the pattern big time was being in the most kind of unhealthy relationship where I was with a man who so it's kind of like he had avoidant tendencies, but I think it's like far wider than that. It was emotional, like you said at the beginning, Zuzana. It was emotional unavailability, and just didn't have this capacity to hold listen to me, hold space for my feelings, and in a way that felt supportive and loving. And also what you said, how did I feel? It was unsafe. I felt unsafe. So in that relationship, because it got so bad, I then made this commitment to myself, and I said to myself, I'm never doing this to myself again, because it really impacted my health, it impacted my well-being, it impacted my work life and all areas. And that journey was then the journey of radical self-love, so that I kept coming back to how do I want to be treated by others. So I got to treat myself like that over and over again, and keep practicing it and talking to myself with loving, kind, compassionate, understanding words, to the point where that when those people came into my life, because they still did, that I was just kind of like I don't want to go on a second date with that man, because he's not treating me like I treat myself and like my friends treat me and my family.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to hear this story, because like when I hear it, I definitely can connect to every word that you are saying. And you're completely right. You have to reach the bottom where you're kind of so devastated that there is no other way but up, and you start looking for solutions for other women, and especially for books and coaches and other things that can really deeply help you. You don't want necessarily anymore like advices from your friends, because it just doesn't work anymore. And yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And can you tell us a little bit more about your current situation? Are you dating somebody right now?
Yes, and it's really wonderful to have a completely different experience. So I set this strong intention a while back, after that really difficult relationship, that I wanted to experience great intimacy with love and safety and emotional availability. And that kind of really, that intention was like my guiding light, because I kept coming back to, when I was dating men, if I didn't, again, like what you said, if I didn't feel that safety, then it wasn't going to go past a second date. And for me, what really helped was having the awareness that there was always going to be a part of me that was really attracted to men who were unavailable, because it felt familiar and it felt safe because of my difficult childhood. So I would spot her and I'd be like, oh, okay, she really fancies him. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I hear you, and we're not going there. We're choosing the intention, my guiding light intention, which is, if it's not emotional safety and great intimacy, then I'm not choosing it, because I kept coming back to, I'm not going to do that to my well-being again. I can't afford to destroy my life like that,
Yeah.
because it's a slippery slope. It's a really slippery slope, because it really, it really impacted and I know it does with other women I work with, and we all know, as in our as colleagues, that it's a slippery slope downwards of lowering of self-esteem, and that impacts all, most, if not all, areas of our lives.
Yeah, definitely. And I just want to mention that even though I now am in a stable relationship, I still catch myself, even after today, still being attracted to those kind of guys. It never goes away.
Yeah.
So it's just like this kind of addiction that is within you. It's just you have to teach yourself how to take care of it and how not to follow it. So even yesterday I met a person on a train, and we started to talk, and I was just like, whoa, I couldn't stop thinking about him. And I was like, but I'm in love with my partner. I have a child with him and I'm super happy. But yet there was still this thing, my inner child trying to go there, trying to, reach something that I didn't get when I was a child. And it's just really, really important to get it and to treat it just as, I would say, an addiction, or as a small child. Yeah. Beautiful. So I'm wondering if anybody else would like to share any thoughts, stories, or anything else.
I'd love to share. Oh,
you too. No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I relate so much to Emma's story. Like, I remember distinct moments, like literally being at the rock bottom of my life, where I just so wanted my partner at the time to choose me and to be so committed to me and to go on this journey of healing the relationship that we had. And he just wasn't choosing me, and I was very aware of that. And I just felt like this anguish, this raw pain of this abandonment wound that I'm certain I know now that it originated in a childhood somewhere, right? And I had fairly happy childhood, so it's not like I was adopted, I was abandoned, nothing like that. But I remember that anguish, and I remember that moment when I just had this like insight that, you know what, I'm choosing myself. And it was such a powerful moment for me. And going forward, that doesn't mean that my journey was, laid out for me, but like every time I would go back to that choice, and I'm choosing myself, I'm committing to me, I can be committed to me. And like that literally changed everything for me, because that was kind of like an anchor that held me in place from now on, that no matter who, rejected me, no matter who, didn't choose me going forward, there was always still that like I've got me. And that like, that little wounded inner child, or, whatever was getting triggered, I would hold it. And going forward to, and that was such a big journey from right, like going forward. For me, there was like so many layers to the healing. There was attending to that wound, like recognizing first that I had wound, because just being there, there is also like shame, there is like what is happening to me, why am I like wanting to choose a person who is clearly rejecting me, and then, feeling guilty and ashamed about that, and processing that, and starting to develop like more of a secure attachment, right? We haven't touched on that, but I know a lot of you ladies have to say a lot on the subject. That's probably needs another like 2-hour talk just on that. But and developing like a really good awareness of my body. Emma was talking about feeling safe with someone. I could not, back then, before I made that choice and before I took that journey, I didn't know when I felt safe with someone. The only thing I knew was what was familiar. And familiar was a tricky thing, because once I've experienced that anguish and I had that trauma, it's almost like I was in a loop. Like our biology at that point works against us, right? Because we're gonna be attracted to someone to re-experience that so we could heal it. So then I was like on a merry-go-round, and I didn't know how to feel safe. I just knew like there is this person and they have the same exact qualities. So let's try this again and let's see if it goes differently this time. And that was all unconscious. So for me, it was like a huge journey to even start feeling my body and know what I feel is safety or if it's activation of familiar. And it was a huge piece for me. And that didn't happen overnight. That didn't happen in a week. It didn't happen in a month. But a third big component for me and was to recognize people that are truly toxic, to start recognizing that. And there is like this popular myth in a modern, in the mainstream that it's overused, the term as narcissists, psychopaths, that it like never happens. But if you really look at statistics, like 10 to 13% of people in the population actually have a legitimate personality disorder. And we're not talking about like people with a narcissistic traits, like on the high spectrum that, completely under radar. And these are people that are, and not shame, no blame, right? They develop that way because of their own, traumas and whatever, but like they're like perfect machines, basically nature's machine to suck you into that, addictive drive. You're like a lion and gazelle. I mean, like they had studies that women choose narcissists more often than not narcissists. Like, and that's, it's confirmed over and over. So to learn to recognize these people that are always in dating pools, like for me, there was a third component that was like huge for me. Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what are the signs to recognize emotionally unavailable man or a narcissistic person? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and Emma was talking about avoidant man and the topic, right? Avoidant man. So narcissistic man, it's like a little bit of a separate, I would say it's almost like avoidance on steroids, maybe. Like avoidant men typically come on with a wall of seduction. Like that's, they're really good at getting dates and about getting into relationships. And I would say narcissists are brilliant at that. So like they come on, so you would have, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've been dating for over 2 years, like in and out, I'll date, then I realize like, okay, I'm going to work on these things. And I pull out and I like lick my wounds and then, I go back out there. And I mean, I've been on dates where I've been proposed to on a second date and I've been, offered to get whisked away on a jet, somewhere. And like, I'm just like, okay, like this sounds really bad. I'm out, like I do not want to be proposed on a second date. Never propose to me on a second date. That's not going to happen, Like now that I'm dating, like a completely different quality of experiences. I slowly get to know people. I can feel attraction, but I'm not tempted ever to immediately be charmed into I'm signing my life away, So the wall of seduction is a huge first sign, and the love bombing. So like day and night, you're constantly, getting texts, you're getting presents. The relationship moves super quickly. Like it's been 2 weeks, and you guys are talking about moving in. Not good news. That's a big, huge sign.
Yeah. Thank you for that. This is really valuable. And many women actually do not know about it, and especially when they enter a relationship like that, and a guy says something like this, they think, oh my God, he's the one, he's Mr. Right. I found him, and really step into the role of being a part of the relationship and start investing and start putting in their heart and soul and feelings. And this is where basically everything starts getting really dangerous. Yeah, thank you. And so we have another two opinions, two beautiful sharings. So I'm wondering if any of you girls would like to go and say something.
Yes. I don't know if I can, Zuzana.
Yes, definitely.
Well, I have a bit of because I understand all of this, but I have a little bit of a different view, because I have two sons also, and And what I see with them, and which is what I always find so interesting, because we name men as egotistical and everything. But what I see is that guys really like themselves much more than women do. I mean, my son of 16, he stands in front of the mirror and he can say like, I look pretty good. I never did that with 16. You know, I never did that with 16, and I applaud him for that. I really like it, and it's really funny how he does it. And so it's, what I want to say with it is that men have a different way of expressing who they are. And what I also see is like men like to have like money and power just to show off who they are, and that's what they want to show off to us women, you know, to show us like, you know, how good they are, how nice they are, and blah blah blah. And of course, you know, narcissism is there, and I think even in this day and age it's even more there than it was 50 years ago. But still, you know, I see a big difference between men and women. Women are most of the time very insecure about their looks, and we're made insecure. I believe that also. You know, every time, you know, people have told us you should have done your hair better, you should have looked better, you should have done this. Men never, or don't get that very much, I have to say. So there's a big difference in how men are brought up and how women are brought up, even if you don't even have a wound, and even if you don't have an avoidant father. And then the second thing is, by talking like this, I don't know, have you ever seen a male group talking like this? I haven't. You know, but this is interesting because women love to talk like this because we get a lot of oxytocin. You know, we get a lot of good hormones from just talking like this, and we love to like even how we did it now. You know, Zuzana, because you started it, and then Emma went, and then Natalia went, and we did it all really nicely. Everybody gets exact the same time also. I mean, no man would think about that. If you give him the microphone, he'll just keep on talking. He'll just be like, I know it all. You know, that's such a different way of looking at things than women do. Because we want the guy, every time we say something, we want the guy to acknowledge us and to say like, yes, yes, you know. He doesn't do that. Even my kids don't do that. You know, so it's just a different way of talking with each other. So that's
beautiful.
I can add a little bit more, but I think this is important.
Yes. And so I love where you're going with this, and I really want you to keep on going and continue. And I'm wondering if you could also close it with, why do you think that women love actually this kind of behavior, you know, where we women are actually underneath and we see ourselves as lower?
No, women are just estrogen driven. We're just much more estrogen driven. So that means to have more estrogen, we like to give. So giving is like one big part that we love to do. And we get a lot of estrogen from it. We get a lot of oxytocin from it. We feel good. The thing is, where it goes wrong, I think, is we want it back. And from a woman, we can get it back. You know, she understands us. I mean, if we were together in a house now and I would start doing the dishes, you would help me. No guy would help me. They would just be like, see her doing the dishes. She does the dishes pretty well. It's not a thing in their mind. You know, you really have to say to a guy like, okay, if you want to do the dishes, I mean, if you want to help me, I would really like that. You know, and I'll give you blah, blah, blah. You know, we can have dessert later, something like that. Then a guy would start moving. It's not because he's narcissistic. It's just the way I think his brain is set. And I thought for the longest time, I thought men and women are the same until I had 2 sons. I mean, I was just amazed how they did. Really, I was just really amazed. And we women come from, I mean, if we would look at tribe cultures, we were always as women together. I mean, I'm Turkish from my parents, if I go to Turkey, women are always sitting together. There's never a man with us. It's just not, because it's not. I mean, it's not practical to have the guy there. What is he going to do? You know, so it's better to have all the women together. You talk, and then at the end, a guy comes there. You know, maybe he has to bring you home, whatever. It's for those reasons men are there. You know, to bring you home, to get the car. You know, to just very practical.
And how did you find it in this present time? I mean, now that we have this conversation about women struggling, you know, with kind of men that don't give you what you need, and we are not talking now just like this little things, but really kind of keep you in a place where you don't want to stay, and it never moves through being a relationship. He never chooses you, and so on and so on. So do you believe that?
That is,
Yeah, keep on going.
but that is your choice.
Mm.
You know, this is the hardest part for women, I think, to understand. I mean, if you go along with that guy, he'll gladly accept. He doesn't, he just doesn't care if you use him, or if you say like, oh, you're just here for the sex. He wouldn't mind. It's us. I mean, women mind. You know, and if the guy says that, and if the guy says, well, you're only here for 1 day a week, and for the rest, I do whatever I want, then you know, it's not about, we want to change him, but we can't change him. There is no way that you can change that guy. Just let him go. If you want to stay with him, just accept it. And if you keep on saying like, oh, but I want that love from him, well, you're not getting it. Leave. It's really, basically, it's very, very simple. But I understand you get caught into it. And I understand also, you know, sperm is very, you know, when you, I wanted to say, why did I God say sperm? But I wanted to say sperm is, you know, the moment, sperm is really, it sounds really stupid, but I wanted to say like, when a man ejaculates, then it makes that you are a little bit addicted to him. So sperm makes you addicted to him, like for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks or something. You know, it's all okay. Just wait 2-3 weeks and then just go on. It's, you know, just, I understand all those feelings also, because I've had them also. But if a man is not right for you, you know.
Yeah. I did, when I compare it with my past relationships, I always knew, like we know, we see the red flags, we intentionally decide to not see them and basically ignore them. Great.
You want to have that something what you see in it, which is a potential, which is very good. But I'm not sure if you'll get that potential, because he is not that potential yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, my dear. And I just would like to give now space a little bit to Karin.
Yeah, hi.
As well.
Yeah, I'm like 100% with Handan. I agree. I think when I have this conversation with women, the thing that I like to really help them focus on, it's not about him. It's not about him. We don't need to understand him. We don't need to figure him out. We don't need to like, you know, go that at all. Because like, honestly, I think a man can be avoidant or a man can be connected, whichever one he wants to be. He can be that. I've had experiences where I've been like with an avoidant man giving me nothing that I want from him, and he'll turn around and he'll connect with another woman and be available for her, right? And so it's not about him, it's about us, right? And so if I'm, you know, when I have the conversation with women about, you know, why they're looking for that, it is partly because of attachment from childhood. If we had a caregiver that was like unavailable, and it can be something as simple as getting dropped off at daycare and like feeling like they don't love me because they're not here for me, right? And so you get this wound inside of you, and then you're always trying to get that love, right? You're always trying to get that availability. I think particularly with people who are raised by people who have addictions or mental illness, that person is like kind of cut off from them emotionally, and they're missing it. And so they're always trying to like fill that wound by finding somebody who will fill it for them. But interesting enough, when we find somebody who fills that wound for us, it doesn't feel the same. You know, we reject people who are available a lot of times because they don't carry that wound that we're looking to heal with them, right? And so so like the work is within ourselves. And for me, what I found is a lot of it has to do with timing. Like I found that I was more attracted to emotionally unavailable men right out of a long-term relationship, when I wasn't ready for a long-term relationship again, when I in my body knew that I needed to do some work on me. I needed to like lick my wounds as well and figure out, like, you know, what was my role in that relationship, and what did I do to make that relationship not work for either one of us. And so when I'm not ready, then I'm afraid to find somebody who might actually fill me up, or like, you know, actually make me feel like loved. So the emotionally unavailable men are perfect, right? It's safe for me. Like they're not, you know, they're not going to fall in love with me. I'm not going to fall deep into that situation. So I'm very attracted, but then I also get hurt because they're not giving me what I want. Right. And so then I'm like, why aren't they giving? And it's partly ego sometimes too, right, ladies? Like sometimes it's like, what?
Yes.
You don't want me? Are you, what? Are you kidding? Like, who are you to not want me? Sometimes it's that, right? And then we're like, even more so, our ego is like, I need to like make him fall in love with me. And he's detecting there's something not really quite right there too. So like Handan said, he will take the sex and he will take what you're ready to give him, like everything you're trying to like shower him with to make him fall in love with you. But there's something about you that's you're not for them either. And so like when we do focus on ourselves and we do really work on our own wounding and we start to give ourselves that, right? And I think, you know, that's what's been the theme all along, is we need to go into relationships whole. We need to be filled with our own self-love. We need to understand that if we are like needing some kind of you know, attention or focus or something like that, we need to look in the mirror and give it to ourselves, and or go to our sisters, right? Go join a sisterhood group or go out with your girlfriends and get those needs met. And then you can show up 100% for a man. He loves it if you're independent. He loves it if you're strong. He loves it if you show up fully confident and sure with yourself. And like if he's the right man for you, he's going to be attracted to that. And if he's not, just, yeah, I agree. If he's not, and he's not giving you what you need, when you're confident and sure and you're filled with yourself, you're just like, oh, this guy isn't for me. He's not the right one. I want somebody who freaking adores me, right? Like, that's what I want.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love what you said, and it definitely resonates probably with all of the women. I'm wondering if we would be able to answer a couple of questions. I know that we have Ida here. I don't know if she would like to ask anything, but if not, I have a couple of questions. Cool. So what should women do to start being attracted to high quality men instead of the emotionally unavailable ones? So what would be your advice? Anybody?
Well, I think I just answered that question with the, like, you know, working on yourself, building your self-love, building your self-confidence, loving your body, loving your sexuality, like looking at yourself in the mirror and making love to yourself in the mirror. And then you walk around like that, half turned on all the time. High quality men like that. Men that are like avoidant and afraid are afraid of that. So like definitely be completely in tune with your sexuality and self-love and not really be needing anything from anybody else.
And I would add, there's actually two things, but I would add practicing emotional availability. I actually wrote about this this week on my Facebook page, that for a long time, I used to get really pissed off with this kind of thinking that you attract emotionally unavailable men because you're emotionally unavailable to yourself. And I used to think, no, I'm not. I've done so much work. And then it's like what Karen said, actually, I was, because the unavailability in me was I didn't feel safe to actually have my needs met and to get what I wanted and to meet someone that there could be a potential long-term relationship with. So my second thing that I think can really help is to kind of like what Natalia said, is if there's ways to practice noticing and feeling what safety feels like in the body so that we can recognize it when it comes up, even if it's really unfamiliar. So and great ways to do that is to get a therapist or a coach or some kind of group program if money is an issue, where you're able to focus on and build up a sense of internal safety within yourself.
Beautiful. Anybody else would like to answer?
Well, I think it's what Natalia and Emma said already, and of course now Karen also, that internal building up of your, that you like yourself very much. I think that's so necessary for a lot of women. And we need to work on that all the time, I think. And that's what we can do in groups like this. You know, we can talk about it, and we can talk about our insecurities, and we can, you know, just, but it's also walking around very, you know, very confident about yourself. And if you get people who ask you things or want a relationship with you, just check in. You know, that's what I do now, is just, I just check in, like, would I want this? Would this be a good choice? I don't think so. And I can just walk on again. And if I like it, I'll just engage in it.
Beautiful.
That's
Natalia?
Yeah, the only thing just what Emma said, what Karen said, what Handan said, is to really get to know what everything feels like in your body. Because when we are in that addictive chase after an unavailable man, it feels a certain way in our body. We are activated a certain way. And if we have not like really gotten to know ourselves, like what, you know, what passion, what, you know, turn on feels like that chase, that addictive feeling, that could feel like aliveness to us. That could feel like this is what life is all about. And it's actually a very distinctive feeling. Like if you really get familiar with what your body feels like in different situations, it actually, that kind of chase is going to start to feel gross at some point. Like if you've really had like this delicious sexuality, delicious turn on where you were not, you know, left in the dust at the end of it, where you were not rejected, you know, as a punishment if you're with a narcissist, right? Or with an avoidant man, like he's just pulling away because he's threatened by that feeling of intimacy. So it actually is not going to feel as attractive to you. And you're gonna recognize that and you're gonna be like, oh, like that doesn't feel good. It's actually not a healthy relationship for me. And you might get caught in that for a moment, but then you're gonna catch yourself and you go like, oh, I recognize that. Yeah, I'm not going there again. And also like a really big component is to take shame out of it, because we do recognize when we are in these patterns, and that makes it worse. So it's almost like we dig ourselves deeper. But if we understand that this is our nature working against us, like they've had studies on what's it called, the intermittent reinforcement, right? The Skinner studies, and like, you know, with animals, okay. But, you know, so like if the rewards were given out, not consistently, but like randomly, the animals would like almost get obsessed with like constantly trying to get that reward. And our, you know, we are animals too, right? Like on some level, like our animal nature, like if we are with a person who is like, oh, he's giving me a little bit and now he's pulling away, like it's addictive. And like, it's really important to take the shame out of it. First fed, you know, like narcotics, and then you're addicted. You're not like hard on yourself, right? So like just to recognize that it's not, you're not bad, you're not broken, but you're in a situation that's, it's addictive, you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sorry for cutting you, but I think this is the end of our recordings and end of our 40 minutes together. Thank you so much for joining. I love you all, and I hope that this was really a big value for everybody that will see it in the future and who is watching even now. Loads of love to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zuzana.
Thank you.